what it means to be a CTA into the Salesforce ecosystem.
You know, it's interesting because I had been in the Salesforce ecosystem for about 10 years, and I had started my own consulting company, and I was leading my teams, and they invented this thing called the CTA. You know, I had gone the developer and advanced developer, and I was like, someday I'll get that. And back when I started, years ago, the CTA program when first created, it was just learn everything, just know everything on the platform. And then you'll take this massive one test, and then you will sit in front of a board. And the question is, when do you learn everything? And what does it mean to know everything? That was kind of the implied nature of it. And then around in 2016, they invented the pyramid, where they broke it up into application architect, system architect. And I remember sitting at one of the Dreamforces, and Suzanne, who's heads up, the program, she started to present the pyramid. And I said, I'm going to do that. And so I started taking certifications. It was a September when I saw it at Dreamforce. And then it wasn't until January that I finally got off my chair and took my first additional certification. So on December, I had developed 401 and 501, the 401 developer, the 501 developer. And I'll talk about what it means to be a CTA. It changed me, because you're like, okay, I'm doing my job, I'm solving problems, and then I'm going to take a cert, and then another cert, and then another cert. And in 6 months, I went from 2 certs to 20. And it became almost like addicted. Like, I want more. The more I took, the more I learned, the more I saw bigger things. And I would take a class in something I didn't need, but then it made me learn about it. I remember I going into single sign-on and identity and integrations, and things I knew I learned better, and things I didn't know I now learned about. And then eventually I sat for my CTA exam, and I actually didn't pass it the first time. I took the exam. I had never even met a CTA. I think I had a 30-minute call with a CTA before the exam. The only time I spoke to a CTA was for 30 minutes before the exam. And I didn't pass. But the head of the program said, Steve, you're so close. And we just invented a class. So they put me in this class called the 601. And so I sat with about 10 people, and we were the very first students learning this class called the 601. And then they put me right back in an exam shortly thereafter. And then I passed and became a CTA. And then they said, hey, we're teaching another 601. You are fresh. You've learned the pyramid. Come help us teach it. So from the time I passed till the time I was teaching a 601 was like a month, 2 months later. All of a sudden, I'm sharing. And then I've been teaching those classes and for Trailhead ever since then. So what does it mean to be a CTA? It's interesting. As a consultant, you're always going to a different problem. You could be on one call today on one client, and later this afternoon on a completely different call. And you have to have that ability to kind of pick up in midstream and shift your brain. You have to be able to see today's problems and look into the future. You have to be able to talk clearly, listen to problems, and be challenged. So as a CTA, it forces you to be thinking clearly, thinking fast, being able to present, being able to have debates with people and the pros and cons. And then in the end, you need to be able to lay down an architecture that is solid, that can learn and grow. So I remember what I was when I first got my CTA, and then I see in the last 5 to 6 years, I've been teaching for Salesforce, still running the consulting company, but teaching. And I've been teaching for going on 6 years now. And that has been a really rewarding experience. I learn from my students. So what I was when I first became a CTA was here. And after every boot camp I become better and better, because I am challenged by very smart people who come in there asking hard questions and want things explained. And so I'm somewhere new because of I have the honor of teaching the students. So I hope that's helpful.
That's great, Steve. I mean, definitely. I mean, everyone that went to Trailhead DX or TDX or Sail or Dreamforce and attended to a bootcamp probably met you over there, and you are all over the place. And again, the content that you're delivering, and again, the passion for you, that you bring into those courses, it's remarkable, and something that all of your students, I included on that group. We feel very honored to be part of that. So thank you for all that stuff. Steve,
and thank you. Yeah, it's an honor to teach and to give back.
That's the right answer always. Steve, you have a session that you're going to introduce. We're going to talk about the CTAJourney. You just described it, how it was for you. I mean, when the new journey was into effective 2016, something like that. But how was for you your preparation? Because I'm assuming that at that time there was nothing. I mean, maybe that's something that we can cover during your session, because many of the audience, they might be interested into going into the CTAJourney, or have the question, I am capable of doing this, or maybe this is too high, maybe I'm just an admin, or maybe I'm just a developer with some experience, but do I want to go into that direction? I think that these are the answers that we're going to allow you to present the CTAJourney, and probably at the end we may have an answer for all of those questions.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Tell me when you can see my screen.
We can see your screen in full, so go ahead.
Do you see me? Do you see my picture?
Yes, we can see it.
All right. So I'm CTA 231, 232nd one, and I got mine in 2017. I was a big .NET. I have gray hair. I was a big .NET programmer, Java programmer, before I got into Salesforce. And as I said, since 2000, about 17, 18, I've been teaching on the side in the Trailhead program. It's been an honor to teach for the program. I'm also the co-founder of Cactus Force, a community conference. You can see my shirt. Formed that. We're actually on year 6 in January. And so that's a community conference of our first year, about 220, got to 300 people. And I'm also used to own a martial arts studio, 5th degree black belt, and a PADI instructor. But what I'm here to talk about today is the journey. And so what it means to go on this architect journey. You know, are you a builder? Do you customize Salesforce? And are you a configurator, or what we call a visual programmer? So you can do amazing things with flows and more flows that could rival what code can do. And so I don't think of flows as config. I think of flows as visual coding. You're using, you may not be writing lines of code, but you're thinking about how to do assignments, how to do loops, how to call this subflow. So I think flows have become truly what I consider visual programming. You get the experience. So if you're a builder, whether you're writing lines of code or doing flows, you're still building. And you're going to say to yourself, when am I thinking like an architect? And what does that mean? To me, that means you're building today, but you're looking to tomorrow, not just trying to solve what you were asked to build, but seeing what's going to happen. See issues before they happen. You want to design across just your components and plan for change. So I would say that any developer or configurator becomes an architect as soon as they start saying, what's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen if this changes? And if I'm talking too fast, let me know and I can slow my cadence down.
No, everything's fine. Everything's fine, Steve. Everything's perfect. And yeah, everything's coming good.
Okay. So no hard coding. Think of elegant designs, beautiful data models, and you want code that can evolve. Then you say to yourself, I'm going to go try to tackle this crazy thing called the pyramid. And today it's called the pyramid. It may change, but I want to head and learn more about the ecosystem. And There's a famous phrase, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That was by Lao Tzu, a philosopher in the Tao Te Ching. And so each of you take your own first step and start moving forward. And being part of this architect group, you're already on that journey. My first thing I say is become a great developer, whether you're a visual programmer, configurator, or coder. Become really good at what you do. And learn the facets, whether you're just, doing app builder configurations, you're getting into flows, or you happen to be a coder or LWC. Get good at what you do. You don't need to know it all, just what you do. Try to be really good at it. Then, as you go on this journey, learn about the clouds: Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Community Cloud, CPQ. These are all running together on a platform called Core. Some other things don't run on Core. And I have one of my YouTube video talks about the Salesforce parties, and some do not. And I know that Salesforce just announced Einstein 1. They're going to bring everything onto the same Einstein 1 platform, but that may be a little ways away. Know the clouds, the difference between B2B Commerce Cloud, B2C Commerce Cloud. Know these clouds and what their capabilities are. If you have Sales Cloud, is it fed from Pardot, Marketing Cloud, or Pardot, formerly known as Pardot, now known as Marketing Cloud Account Engagement? How do things flow into CPQ? How are orders created? What's the ERP and where is the handshake? And then Service Cloud, phones, emails, bots, chats, self-service. So the next thing is, in your journey, start to learn more. If you're only in one cloud, start to find time to learn about the other clouds of Salesforce. Learn community clouds, templates, sharing. This is important. Communities are opening Salesforce up to the wider group. All right. You've said, I'm on my journey. Where do I go? And my first point is, find your own personal quick wins. Find the ones that you can hit first. And then the next thing is tackle one domain at a time. Don't try studying for 2 or 3 simultaneously. Pick one and pass it. And if you don't pass it, stay on it till you do. Never give up. Then find ways to get hands-on. So some people who are living inside of Salesforce, visual flow developers, very much heavy in Salesforce, I believe that the app architect is the first place to start. And actually, data architecture is a great entry point. Either get your app builder, maybe your platform developer 1, but when you're ready, go take data architect. And then once you feel like you've tackled that, then move on to sharing and visibility. So this is where I think now, if you're a big integration programmer new to Salesforce, you know about integrations and deployments, then you might tackle the right side of the pyramid. But for many people who grow in the Salesforce ecosystem, the left side of the pyramid is a more straightforward climb. So typically it's the first one. You learn about platforms and licenses and data volumes. And I call this the bones of an application. When you're on platform, when you're off, and really learn about the bones, the data arc. Then when you're ready for sharing and security and rules, then you go into your sharing and viz. And this is where you learn all the security mechanisms and that are capable inside of Salesforce. I even have Steve's 17 ways to share a record from OW, and there are only about 17. Now there's 1 or 2 more. Well, this is an older talk, but I'm actually doing this as one of my new videos. But we're going to be going through all the different ways, from OWD, org-wide defaults, and ownership, and criteria, and owner-based sharing rules, and the multiple implicit sharings. And then, oh my God, you got to learn about all the users and licenses. When does a platform license? What are the community cloud? So that covers the left side. Then you're kind of moving, doing your job, learning and growing. And then you say, I'm going to swing over and learn the sysarch side. You got dev lifecycle. A sysarch is where you're more sitting outside of core, looking in. And you might need to know about integration architecture. This is probably the domain that has the most largest number of volume of data. You learn about the integrations, the mechanisms, and the authentications, and the apex, and you can do really great integrations using flows now with the new capabilities that just came out. Learn about all the different APIs, SOAPs, and RESTs, and in some of my YouTube talks, I peel apart the APIs. Then you're going to get in. This is actually the domain people know the least about. It's not as big in volume as integration, but it's things people don't do every day. Somebody sets up single sign-on, they turn the dials, and they leave it alone. So if you have a team of 10 or 20, only like a handful will do the authentication, and then the rest just tap into it. So this is the one that can be a little bit more of a new lift of information. And again, I have some great videos. I've been specifically focusing on identity and access management. You learn swim lanes and configurations. Dev lifecycle is learning how to build and deploy and do governance. Some people really can hit this one just with their life experiences. And then you've done it. You suddenly blink, and all of a sudden you're a sysarch and an app arch, and it's time for the party. But you've got to decide whether you do or don't want to keep going for the CTA. Not everybody needs to, and this is once you get both of these, brag, send LinkedIns, put them on your signature, and just really you've achieved something great when you get both system and app architect. And when you do, then you got to decide you really want to keep climbing, because it's a whole different game going to the next step. And for those that are interested to go to the next step, the technical architect at the top, then what you need to do is you need to prepare for the exam. It requires you to kind of know the journey, know the full breadth of the platform. That doesn't mean you have to be able to write Marketing Cloud journey flows while configuring CPQ pricing rule. You don't need to know all of those details. You just need to know they exist and what their strengths might be and what their weaknesses might be. I don't need to write a Marketing Cloud journey to know what it's capable of. I have done CPQ, but I don't need all the nuances because I know I can bring in experts. But I need to know its strengths and weaknesses so I can add it to a solution or identify when it is not the right component in a solution. And so what you got to do is you got to know the stack, when to use them. You're going to, as a CTA, you asked me what it means to be a CTA. You need to collaborate. Collaborate with the programmers, collaborate with the flows, collaborate with the business. You need to be able to create a balanced solution. We like to say in the architect group that there are optimal choices and suboptimal choices, and there are wrong choices. And you need to be able to see that I might have the optimal choice, but then like if I said, keep everything in S objects, and all of a sudden I realize I have 50 million case records. At some point, I'm going to the Salesforce may start slowing down because of large data volumes. So do I create indexes and hope my performance stays good as my cases grow from 50 million to 70 million to 100 million? Or do I take my data off and put it off platform, which now means that it's running faster because my cases are, but now my reporting is compromised. So now I've got to go and decide, am I going to do like external objects and try to report off of that? Or am I going to move my reports to like Tableau? So as you turn one dial to adjust for a challenge, you need to think of the consequences. And so you have to be able to create a balanced solution. And then you need to present it both upwards to the executive team, and you need to be able to present it towards the tech teams. Get down to explain why you chose the fire and forget platform event model instead of an API call. Be able to know why you're making those choices. The phrase is think correct, but think fast. CTAs learn to think quickly. They don't need, you shouldn't need, if you have all the requirements, you should be able to analyze them in a shorter amount of time and respond without needing weeks to process. Sometimes, the CTA teaches you to think in a rapid but correct situation. And I like to say, know your tools. I was in the martial arts, am in the martial arts, and know your weapons. What is it? Where do I use it? How do I use it? What are my alternatives? What are its strengths? What are its weaknesses? And how do I explain it? So if I said a customer community license, high volume, what is it? It allows me to have, tens or hundreds of millions, tens of millions of users. What is its, where is it used? It's the cheapest community license. What are the alternatives? Customer community plus or customer community? What are its strengths? Is its price? What's its weakness? You can't use standard sharing records on it. So with a customer community high volume, the Apex sharing is not an alternative. How do I explain that to my developer? The business wants it because it's cheap. The programmers don't want it because they lose their sharing, Apex sharing. How do I help the company choose between it? And then how will I maintain that? So you need to be able to go through all the different choices and know the strength, the weakness, the alternatives, and when to use it. And there we go. Each of the license types, know your platform, when to use platform events, when to use outbound messages and REST calls. Once you get your system in act, you need to learn the material twice. First to pass and second to solve. All right. And we're hitting the finale here. When you come to the exam, you're going to given a challenge to solve a puzzle. It's like solving an RFP, a request for proposal. You then present it to a panel of 3 judges. And I'm a judge in the judging program. So I'm one of the CTA judges. And then we're going to ask you questions. And then in the end, we're going to evaluate how you do. Solve, present, and Q&A. You got to know the material, be able to build a solution, have a cohesive solution, draw the artifacts, present in front of a group, handle the questions, and you need to work quickly under time constraints. In my exam, I would realize that I needed to change something. And it's like dominoes, change the license type, change the object. And I was successfully, in the one that I passed, successfully able to make a change, adjust for it, and continue. And the end, obtain the certs, get hands-on, work with the community, get a mentor, join the study groups. This is the perfect group for this. Working together. Maybe take a class, the 601, and then practice, feel the pressure. And apply your knowledge. And where do you go? Trailheads. And I'll just wrap up quickly and go from there. So I'll pause right there. Questions?
I don't know if you guys you have a question, but you mentioned something interesting here, which is the 601 experience, and maybe you can elaborate a bit more on what the 601 means, because I remember that was the first when I was doing the journey. That was the first time that I really faced it. Okay, this is a complete different game. This is the review board. It's not the pyramid. It's not exams on WebAssessor or Trailhead. I mean, it's completely different. Can you elaborate a bit more on what the 601 means and how it affects the candidates?
Sure. When I took it, there was a very, the exam. This is before that they had I was one of the first students in the 601. Remember, I had tried the exam, didn't pass. I didn't know the format. I walked into my judges going, "Hi, my name is Steve. Glad to be here today. And I'm going to come," and then they would ask me and then I would, and I might have done this and maybe done this and maybe, and what I learned in the class in the 601 is time, tick, tick, tick. I just wasted time saying hello. I said I might have done A, B, N, or C, and I thought about them, but I decided on all that's wasted time. What you need to be doing is going straight to the solution, being able to talk in a more precise manner. So I would say I was like probably 5 to 10 minutes extra time away from passing. And had I not, and that's what I was told by, the head of the program, that if you don't know the time format, you can get bought. So the class will train you how to solve, how to be proscriptive, how to present. So we walk the class through, the building blocks for the exam, and then actual mock exams where we get the instructor. There's also one-on-one where gatekeeping, where you will work with a CTA who will do a mock exam with you. But the 601 is the class where you kind of work as a team and kind of build up. Okay. Now, a lot of times, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead, continue. I have other questions.
Yeah. So that's a formalized class on prepping you for the exam. And then on your own, you should have your own study groups. What we did is, when I was in the 601, me and another couple students would get together, and every week we met and we would like quiz each other. Like I would say, here is a integration challenge. I need, I give them a set of requirements, and you'd have to choose the mechanism. And then they would turn around and say, explain the JWT OAuth flow, what it is and when you'd use it. And then the third person would say, here is a sharing challenge. So every week we'd get together and we would both quiz each other and kind of discuss the solutions. So lots of little puzzles.
Steve, I have a follow-up question here. Someone is asking about the what a scenario from the reviewer looks like. And probably this is a very common question because it's a completely different game. Can you elaborate a bit more on how a scenario looks like? Because some of the, I'm assuming that this is related because there are out there on the community, there are some scenarios, some of them are made up, some of them are officially from Salesforce. And I think that maybe you can elaborate on what's the difference between the scenarios that you might find on the community and the real ones that you're going to face on a review board.
Yep. So some of the scenarios out there are real scenarios. Typically, what they'll do is they'll write a scenario and use it for a short period of time, maybe some number of exams, and then they will retire it. So that way, the scenario itself can't be shared. When I took the exams in 2017, they would use them for a 1-week period. There were 2 people a day. This is in person. There would be 2 tests a day for 5 days, so 10 people. They would create a new exam, use it for that week, and never use it again. So that way, no one could learn and go past that knowledge. Now I think they're rotating some numbers, but so these exams are designed to describe a business scenario, and they're going to explain Steve's Plumbing is going worldwide. Steve's Plumbing has offices in North America and Latin America, and it's thinking about moving to Europe. Steve's Plumbing has 2 archive SAPs. One's going to go away. We're buying a new Oracle ER. So they'll explain Steve's Plumbing or some client, and you will have to design a full scenario that solves that. And there will be enough challenges in Steve's Plumbing that's going to make you solve a complicated object model, deal with complicated sharing, map out integrations, and think about just about all the major key aspects of the platform. And there'll be some gotchas in there. There will be some, I call them knots of complexity, and you're going to have to see those and mitigate that. And you are going to solve this by doing diagrams. And I know that we have just moved from handwritten diagrams to lucid diagrams. So you're going to need to be able to move quickly on lucid and be able to think quickly. So, if you're sitting here in lucid and, I say, okay, here is Salesforce, and I have and I'm going to make it blue here, and then I'm going to have an ERP, but wait, I think I want MuleSoft. So I'll put Mule, and then I am going to, have an integration pushing from Salesforce to Mule, and then I'm going to have Mule going from here to the ERP. Wait, I like ERPs to be green. Mule, I think I make a little purple. And then, I like MuleSoft here. I'll grab the logo. Here's Salesforce. Now, I then will have Salesforce when I'll have an IDP. Let's say Okta. And so maybe I make that like a yellow, or maybe, so then what I'm going to do is I know I'm going to have a single sign-on. And then here I may have a browser. And just like this, I'll be done in just a moment. So I'll go here. So the browser's hitting Salesforce, but it's also going to have a single sign-on with Okta. And then I might have a community here. Let me move Okta down. Let's call this a customer community. Attach that there. So the point is, you're going to need to be, just in about a minute or two, I'm drawing a system landscape. I have Okta, the customer community, linking. Maybe I have 3 ERPs. And what I'm showing you is my ability to take Lucid and move quickly and convey complicated thoughts in here. Now, maybe this one is, we'll go and I'll put one last details. Maybe here I'm doing platform events. And this one is calling a REST call-in. And so then I need a cylinder. And I use like a data load. And I'll finish up right here. Maybe I bring it in through MuleSoft, or maybe I don't. Maybe I bring this straight in using the bulk data load. So this is my ability to, in like a minute, use and create a system landscape with a browser hitting Salesforce. I've got a community. I'm hitting MuleSoft. I've got 3 ERPs doing single sign-on with Okta. And I've got a database process using the bulk API feeding into Salesforce. And this is my ability to use Lucid on the fly.
That's pretty amazing, Steve. I mean, definitely. I mean, it's one of the first skills that you need to gain is how to do diagrams. On our time, it was on paper on this flipboards, but definitely, I mean, watching you doing this on Lucid, definitely there's new skills that you need to have, and yeah, that's exactly what we're asking for here. Steve, I have another question here that maybe we can just start jumping into this question because
fire away.
Yeah. The question here is, can you elaborate a bit more on time restriction on the review board? Because I think that they changed it. And I will add to that question if you can provide some strategy on time management.
Yeah, so I want to be careful about the time. I know they're just changing them, and then since I'm not the actual program itself. So let's get the actual timings from them. And the reasoning is there are some allocations for, English, not English as the first language. So I don't want to be an expert, but there are 3 parts to the exam. We'll call it the solving part. And so let me go here. So the first is the solve. And what you're going to do is you're going to be in a constrained environment, a proctored environment, and you're going to be given this requirements document, and you're going to need to solve it. You're going to need to read it. You're going to need to then start solving. And then when you're done with part 1, you're going to want to come out with your artifacts. Your Lucid's ready. So here are some time management suggestions. When you do your first read, you can have an editable document where you can start annotating it. So what you can start doing is in my first pass read, I am looking for nouns. Like, and I'm looking for two things in my nouns. I'm looking for objects and I'm looking for users. And those, I identify those in my first read. Back in the day when I had paper, what I would do is if I was holding it in my hand and I saw a noun like customer sends an order, customer, that's a user. Sends an order, order is a noun, that's going to be an object model. And so I read this, as I read it in my first pass, I am marking the business, the users, and the nouns, the objects. And so they send an order. There is a plumbing order. They order a sink. They submit a refund. They want to ship the product. So now I've got order, refund, product. Somebody wants to create a case. That's easy. Somebody creates an interest request. That's a noun. So first time you read, identify your nouns and your objects in that initial read. So I will read it the first time and already start to peg in my actors and my nouns. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my object model and very quickly and my system landscape. Salesforce, 3 ERPs. I'm going to put MuleSoft in the middle. And then I'm going to start creating my system landscape, my actors, and then I'm going to start solving it with pass 2. So pass 1, initial read, just grab the nouns, the people in there. Pass 2, quickly do some quick diagrams, and then come back to it and read it again, top to bottom, solving it. So that's how I do it. Pass 1, quick solutioning. Pass 2, go details. And if you've got time left, go through it a third time looking for any contradictions. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. I think that the time allocation is 2 hours and a half, but probably they extended to 3 hours. So yeah, those 3 hours run very fast. I mean, and every second matters. I can tell you from experience.
Yeah.
Steve, I have a question. Okay, this is an interesting one. Do you think that there will be a review board in Spanish?
I hope. I know. I heard that there's one I hope that there would be one to give you. I'm just an instructor. It's going to be up to the program. So I can't talk to that.
I know that there's something in Japanese, right?
Yes. I had heard indirectly that there was one in Japanese, but I know that the first Japanese ones, I talked to one of the CTA judges and he had, this is secondhand knowledge. They had to have a translator in the meeting. So imagine trying to take the test with a translator. So I would, hopefully when there's enough CTA presence that they can get to where that the program can offer it.
That's a good one. And about language. Guys, I don't know if you have any other question. I have a lot of the other questions that are not specifically related to the CTAJourney. I don't know if you guys are interested into jumping into the pyramid. Maybe you want to ask something on the architect side. Let me check again here if we have.
And while you do that, so I'm offering. Let's talk about my little journey. Go into YouTube.
Oh yeah, please.
I have started creating YouTube videos on the journey. So I am doing a video a day. So my goal is I've done about 20 right now, up to 28 videos. And I'm going to be sending a new one out every business day from I've been doing a big focus on my identity and access. So I have a couple of playlists from security, data, integrations, and I'm going to be spreading across the whole pyramid. So doing a different drop every day. So in fact, I'll be hanging up with you and doing today's video to release it. So when you see a video coming out later today, know that it wasn't made until after this meeting. So I haven't yet filmed today's, and I'm actually doing today's most likely on JWT OAuth Flow. So when you see the one on JWT, know that I have not made it yet. And for those, so this is free. I'm not trying to monetize this, just giving it out. I'm also building a blog, stevetechark.com. And I have my videos here, but I'm converting them into blogs with screenshots. So those, I have about 20 of the blogs ready to go. I'm just doing image drops. So look in about a week for the blogs. And I have a crazy goal I'll put on video. I am trying to get to 100. So all I want to do is give this away for free. So I'm not asking for subscriptions, no money, just come look to listen to little technical videos is all I ask.
That's pretty amazing, Steve. I mean, definitely these resources, guys. If you are not following on LinkedIn, I encourage you to start following Steve on LinkedIn, because he's publishing all this stuff there too. And yeah, these videos are amazing because they are short, direct to the point, and it's a what we call on the architect group the discussion igniter, because yeah, just from a 2 minute, 3 minutes video, I mean, we can start talking and engaging through all of these technical concepts. And of course, in our groups, we have persons that are at different level, and of course, it's a very, very good starting point for starting the conversation. So thank you, Steve, for doing this stuff, and thank you for adding this to the community. We have some other question here, and from Gonzalo. That is so cool. You'll be able to get all of this information from a real Steve. Thank you, Steve, so much. Thank you, Gonzalo. Maybe we can just, Steve, maybe we can have, oh, we are close to the deadline, but maybe I can just throw some questions and
fire away.
Just try to answer short, sweet and short. So question about the Well Architect framework developed by Salesforce. What do you think about it? It's related to, it's more academic, or it's more, and it's related to the CTA preparation, or it's more related to real projects in the real world?
I'd say it's less about CTA preparation. It's not designed for CTA preparation. It's designed for real projects in the real world. So great to learn, but it's not designed to take you on a journey. It's there if you're trying to be a builder. It's there for anyone who's a admin developer on to learn from, but it is not meant as teaching material. It's there for you to solve problems.
Okay, yeah, definitely a great resource, worth to check. They have a new release, a new version. Also, go ahead and check architect.salesforce.com for more information. Another question here is, what motivated you to pursue this certification, the CTA?
I was running my own company and decided, and I love being technical, and I decided to do it. And it did change me. I didn't know what it would force me to do. You know, the level of effort. It was one of the hardest things I've done in my life, which was getting on this journey, but it was amazing and well worth it. So what made me was wanting it. And again, I didn't pass the first time. And so many of you that try this, there's no shame in not, but it's never give up. I don't give up. So that would be my main theme is for any of you. I haven't passed every certification I've tried, but I just shake myself off, learn from it, and never give up. That's my motto.
That's amazing. Something related to this question. It says, what do you believe are the current and future market needs for the technical skill set in the Salesforce ecosystem? How does the CTA certification align with these needs? So the question is about market needs.
Yeah, I think that as the architect community grows, we're going to need to be the ones to see across the components. And there are times where you can get your hands dirty, and there's times when you kind of see across and help shape the solution. So I see the opportunity growing bigger, even with all this crazy AI stuff. AI is both smart and stupid. And it's brilliantly smart on some things, but totally stupid on others. And you're going to need the people that can see across to see the good in it and to see the danger in it. Meaning, like, when I don't mean danger, I mean like bad material. Like you can't trust that it's going to make good technical decisions. So we need humans that can see across, and whether you're dealing with an onshore, offshore project, with remote developers in your face, I think architects need to be the ones to see across and to be able to deal with. So I see that as a really growing opportunity.
Not related to related question to AI. It says, in the ever-evolving Salesforce ecosystem, what trends or emerging technologies other than AI do you believe CTA should be prepared to embrace and integrate into their solutions?
I had to be, I'm a coder, and what I had to get over was the concept of flows getting more and more powerful. And I had to let go of the best way to solve a complicated problem was with code. And so the flows are getting more and more powerful, and the code is going to be saved for special cases. And so that was a big deal for me, coming from a hands-on coder. And it's just the tying of all the different systems together, being the sales, the service, being able to see across. So what are your challenges? One, we'll push AI to the side, not deal with that crazy shiny thing. But I would say it's seeing the power of the flows and tying all the multiple systems together, crossing clouds, Azure, AWS, and being able to tie them across. I love integrations.
Okay, related to this one, no, this not one. This one. I'm an admin. Is the CTA journey for me? Well, that's a very interesting question, because I think that it's more related to the sense that CTAs are developers with superpowers, or developers that they know a lot. Can you elaborate more on that?
I don't think it's, can an admin become an architect? Yes. Does an admin need to become a CTA? No. Remember I said, you get system and app, you need to decide, I think there's great value in the program, no matter whether you go to the top or not. Just the journey is it. So that's what I would say. Don't feel like, don't do it unless I'm going to become a CTA. No, I teach my classes, my boot camps. I taught a boot camp of 80 people at TDX this year. And my goal was to give them value in their day, even if none of them went CTA. I was there to make them better at help them be better at what they do. So every admin can journey to architect. Not everybody needs to become a CTA, if that makes sense.
Definitely. I think that we did a session in the past, which is kill the developer, which basically it's the idea of that in order to become an architect, I mean, you need to stop thinking as a developer. That's a conversation for another day, definitely, and we can follow up from there within the group. I have some. Maybe this is a bit large, but maybe you can summarize as CTAs do. This one, it says. As a CTA, you're often responsible for designing complex and scalable solutions. Can you share a challenging project or a scenario you have worked on, and how your expertise as CTA helped to overcome those challenges? It's a big one.
Yeah. Let me summarize a very complicated. We had a Salesforce system with data. We had an SAP system with data, and we wanted bidirectional synchronization using MuleSoft, where people were able to make changes on either side and handle the bidirectional flows and handle the data collisions. So being able to speak Salesforce, being able to talk to the SAP teams, and be able to drive, I'm also a MuleSoft developer, being able to see across the layers. I created very detailed swim lane flows, being able to always bring people back to the object model, so I would say being a CTA helped me talk across the layers, keep track of the details. And I would start every meeting by showing them the object model, so it kept everybody's brains realigning to what they were doing. So it was my presentation, my teaching that helped me keep the teams focused, if that makes sense. So you become a CTA, you're comfortable speaking, diagramming, you diagram in your sleep. I say hello to a new client, and by the time I've finished a 1-hour call, I have a system landscape and an object model from what they've talked about. So yes, I hope that helps.
Yes, definitely. I mean, yeah, definitely. That's a big question that you answered in just a few seconds. I related one to your regular day as a CTA. How it looks like a regular day for you?
It can be going, from client to client when I'm on heavy client efforts, and I call them fresh calls, where I just say hello and learn about their problem, to switching to an established dev team, talking with the dev team, reviewing the requirements. So I can kind of switch modes and quickly. So it's fun. I get to see the beginning of projects because I draw them out. And then I get to see the ends of projects, and hopefully, I can make those happy times. When I mean end, I mean go live deployments and going into support. So it's the ability to switch between those even on the same day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And you're in consulting. It can become very overwhelming. Two final questions I have. Maybe they're related. Let me choose which one. Do you think that there is an evolution after CTA? So I guess that the question is more related to, okay, once you reach the CTA, that's the end of the journey. Is life after a CTA? How does
for me, it became teaching and growing. For some people, I know a lot of the CTAs go start product companies or go become the head. And I think there's always more to learn. So to me, I thought it was a big achievement for me, and then I became something else after. So there is life after CTA. Some people, just I chose the path of sharing with others. That's my passion, which is to help build more CTAs, more architects. So that's my path after, is to help everyone else. That's my passion.
That's amazing. For the ones that are asking about AI, I mean, Steve already answered that question. And also, I'm going to invite you to the upcoming sessions. We're going to have some other CTAs that are going to talk specifically about AI and GPT and, well, all the stuff that were announced on last Dreamforce. But Steve, I have the last question here, which it's a very interesting one. And I would like you to take time for this one, because I think that this affects everyone. What advice would you give to an aspiring Salesforce professional who are interested in pursuing the CTA certification? Are there specific resources or strategies that you found especially helpful during the journey?
Yeah, I would just climb the mountain one certification at a time, choose which path, whether you're going to do AppArc or SysArc, just climb it one at a time and play with it. What I'm showing in my videos is, it's funny because I would learn about something and yet I can spin up a couple of orgs. Like there's a crazy little OAuth flow called device OAuth flow, where it's like a Netflix television where it reads you the codes and you authenticate. You can do so much in Salesforce for free. Just spin up a couple of dev orgs, and I did single sign-on. Spin up a couple of dev orgs and use Postman. There is so much you can do without having to pay software costs. And I'm trying to show that I would say, just get your hands dirty. It's like Trailhead is free. Salesforce sandboxes are free. Postman is free. All you need to do is just start putting your hands on it. So I would say, get your hands dirty and just start doing these things. That's how I learn the best.
Steve Simpson, thank you very much for being the first guest in this series of CTAs to the Montevideo Salesforce Architect Group. In the name of Uruguay and the whole Latin American community, thank you very much for joining, and I hope to see you soon in a short term.
I appreciate the invite, and I'd love to join again.